So picture this. It is July 16, 2025, at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. 60,000 screaming rock fans are jammed in, taking in the full spectacle of a massive Coldplay concert. The stadium cameras start sweeping the crowd for the classic light-hearted kiss cam segment, framing couples on those massive high-definition screens while Chris Martin is bantering live into the microphone.
Right? The classic kiss cam. 60,000 people watching you on a screen as big as a house.
Mate, exactly. But then the camera lens lands on this one couple wrapped up in a super tight embrace, and the exact millisecond their faces hit the jumbotron, absolute sheer terror sets in. The woman violently shields her face with both arms and ducks down, and the guy straight up dives below the aluminium seating barrier, trying to vanish into the concrete floor like a frightened lizard.
Frightened lizard? Wait, so they did not just laugh it off or wave?
No way! It was total panic! And Chris Martin, seeing this absolute train wreck from the stage, quips live into his mic, either they are having an affair, or they are just very shy. The entire stadium erupts in laughter. But a spectator in the stands recorded the whole 15-second video on her phone, tossed it onto TikTok, and within 24 hours, that clip hits over 90 million views globally.
90 million views in 24 hours! That is astounding. I am Emily Culver, by the way, and welcome to the show. And look, that Gillette Stadium disaster brings us straight to our core thesis today. Enterprise security teams spend millions of dollars obsessing over zero-day exploits, overseas ransomware cartels, and complex technical safeguards. But the single most dangerous vector in modern corporate architecture is not an unpatched server cluster. It is a pair of top executives, a stadium jumbotron, and 15 seconds of catastrophic body language.
Yeah, nah, you are spot on, Em. It is like back in my Sydney shed when I'm restoring an old trail bike. You can spend weeks talking down every head bolt to exact spec, fitting brand new double-sealed bearings, absolute state-of-the-art engineering. But if you forget to tighten the oil drain plug because you were distracted, the whole motor seizes up on your first lap around the track. Tech leadership builds these elaborate digital fortresses, but completely forgets that human behavior is always where the oil leaks out.
That illusion of control is so deep. We convince ourselves that process and protocol protect us from risk, while completely ignoring the human beings sitting in the corner room holding the steering wheel.
Fair dinkum, mate. Even a kangaroo could trip over that kind of logic.
So what happened after those 90 million TikTok views started rolling in? The corporate PR strategy was complete silence. But in the digital age, an information vacuum gets filled in about 3 minutes flat. While casual viewers watched for the pure cringe, internet sleuths on Reddit and TikTok went full forensic investigator. Within 48 hours, by cross-referencing public corporate bio pages and LinkedIn profiles, they cracked the case wide open.
48 hours. Who were they?
The man was Andy Byron, the chief executive officer of Astronomer, a venture-backed enterprise data orchestration startup valued at over $1 billion. And the woman ducking behind the stadium seat was Kristin Cabot, the chief people officer at Astronomer, which is literally the head of human resources.
Wait, hold the phone, mate. The chief people officer? The person literally in charge of workplace ethics, fraternization policy, and employee handbooks was the one hiding under the aluminium chair with the CEO.
The structural irony is staggering, Lachlan. In any corporate environment, a romantic relationship between a CEO and their direct report is a governance radioactive zone. And the person responsible for enforcing compliance was in the middle of it. The board launched an internal investigation almost immediately. Andy Byron was forced to resign just 3 days after the concert video blew up, and Kristin Cabot resigned about a week later.
Man, talk about an absolute governance meltdown. 2 top executive positions at a $1 billion tech startup vaporized because of a 15-second video clip. It really shows how policy binder worship breaks down the second you look at upper management. Corporate systems create 3-inch thick compliance binders for everyday workers, but the executives behave like the rules are just suggestions for the lower tiers.
Exactly. It is the ultimate paradox of modern workplace hierarchy. Lower-level employees get tracked on every single mouse click and keystroke, while the architects of those rules treat themselves as totally immune to the systems they build.
It is proper wild, Em. They spend all day talking about risk management, but walk into a stadium with 60,000 cameras without a single shred of personal operational security.
And that divide between rule enforcement and executive behavior is where companies completely rot from the inside out.
This whole situation reminds me so much of what we call the clown shoe club in workplace culture. You know the type, Em. Huge, hyper-political, always scheduling a 90-minute meeting to decide if another meeting is required, measuring productivity purely by green status lights on a dashboard.
Oh, absolutely. The Clown Shoe Club loves policy theater. Look at historical examples like Wells Fargo a few years back. Management established these impossibly rigid quotas and tracking tools for mid-level branch workers, forcing them into absurd compliance hurdles. The dashboard said everything was fine and green, while underneath, workers were creating millions of unauthorized accounts just to survive the metric pressure. They spent millions on compliance tools, yet the executive incentive structure directly bypassed every single safety rail.
Spot on. The dashboard is bright green, but the building is literally on fire. Enterprise tech spends millions of dollars on data security telemetry, setting up complex data pipelines, while the board appoints another steering committee to draft more rules. Meanwhile, characters in Club Genius like Jacques or Nancy are sitting quietly in the corner, looking at the entire mess, thinking, why did nobody just ask the one obvious question?
What would Nancy say if she walked into that Astronomer steering committee meeting?
Nancy would pull out the actual conduct policy, open page 1, and ask, did anyone actually check if the chief executive is following the rules he signed off on? Silence in the room. Pure, stunned silence. Executives love building 12-layer approval flows for a $1 software purchase, but nobody ever audits the top floor.
Right. They build massive committees to manage lower-tier operational risk while treating executive hubris as an unmeasurable variable. You can design bulletproof technical systems, but if the people leading the company view themselves as above the system, your risk governance is completely illusory.
It is like putting a shiny new exhaust on a bike with no brakes, mate. Looks great in the brochure until you hit the first sharp turn.
So where does this leave us, Lachlan? When these massive corporate scandals break, does it actually reform the organizational culture? Or do companies just end up hiring consultants like Trevor to write an even thicker compliance binder?
Well, look, I reckon public viral shame is pretty much the only metric that actually wakes executive leadership up these days. When a 15-second video wipes out 2 C-suite careers and turns a B2B tech brand into a global meme overnight, board members suddenly remember that human behavior matters. But if the response is just adding another approval layer or a mandatory click-through training video, you have completely missed the point.
I see your point about viral shame, but I do not think fear of getting caught on a jumbotron actually fixes systemic issues. Real workplace change only happens when everyday workers start questioning bad processes from the ground up, rather than just nodding along while executives talk about synergistic, transformational optimization.
Fair point, Em. If everyone is just following corporate process instead of thinking, nonsense will win every single time. Which brings us straight to today's Club Genius lesson.
Here is today's 30-second takeaway. If a process exists only to give management the illusion of control, question the process. And if a policy does not apply to the people who wrote it, remove the step entirely.
Simple, useful, and keeps common sense winning against corporate nonsense. All right, Em, good chatting with you today.
Good chatting, Lachlan. Catch you next time.